So the question says, solve the system of equations using the elimination method. And in the elimination method, the goal is when I add the two equations together, one of the variables will cancel out. And so if I'm looking at this right now, if you look at the x's, if I added them, I would get 8x. If I look at the y's and I add them, I would get negative 6x. So as it is right now, nothing's going to cancel out. So I'm going to have to do some math magic to it. Because it's an equation, as long as I do the same thing to both sides, I can multiply either equation by anything I want. I notice the y's, one of them is negative 4 and one of them is negative 2. And I know that 2 goes into 4. So I am going to choose to multiply this bottom equation, everything by negative 2. Because I know that if I multiply negative 2 times negative 2, I'm going to get a positive 4. And the positive 4 and the negative 4 in the other equation will cancel each other out. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I need to make sure that I multiply every single thing by negative 2 since it's an equation. So doing that gives me negative 6x plus 4y equals negative 12. And my original equation on top was 5x minus 4y equals 10. I'm going to add those two equations together, leaving me with negative x. My y's canceled, which is what I wanted to happen. And when I add these two, I get negative 2. Okay, so negative x equals negative 2. If I divide everything by negative 1, I'm going to get that x equals positive 2. So now I had two equations to start with, and both equations had an x and a y. I only have x so far, so what I need to do now is go back up to one of my original equations and substitute. So it would be like if I went to that first equation, and instead of 5x, I'm going to make it 5 times 2. Let me erase some of this here a little bit so that we have room to write. Okay, so rewriting that now, I'm going to do 5 times 2 minus 4y equals 10. And there wasn't really any reason that I chose the first equation, maybe just because it was first. You could do it with the second equation just as well. That's going to give me 10 minus 4y equals 10. Since 10 is positive, I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. So that's going to leave me with negative 4y equals 0. Dividing by negative 4 leaves me with y equals 0. Okay, so I have my two answers. I do want to make sure that I'm right, especially if this is on a test and I'm going to get full credit for it. So what I'm going to do now is get the second equation, and I'm going to substitute 2 in for x, and I'm going to substitute 0 in for y, and see if I get the same thing. So that's going to leave me with 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 0 is 0, it's supposed to equal 6, and 6 does equal 6, so I know that I'm right. Woohoo!